Her image is as unforgettable as her legacy. I'm Anne Widdicombe, and today I'm exploring the canonization of the world's most famous nun, Mother Teresa. Even in her lifetime, she was known as the Saint of the Gutters. But today, Mother Teresa has officially become Saint Teresa of Calcutta. I was blessed to meet her, and what I remember is the tiny stature, the deep humility, the profound holiness. She transformed many thousands of lives, and we hear the personal story of one of those.
Mother Teresa is significant because she gave me a chance to have a second life.
We meet the computer whiz, whose idea is helping people to be more independent. And as it's back to school this week, Claire McCullum visits some teachers volunteering in Dunkirk's migrant camp.
I want them to be safe, and I want them to have a future.
Mother Teresa is remembered for her service to others, and that's reflected in our music today. She once said, "If ever I become a saint, I shall be continually absent from heaven to light the light of those in darkness on earth." Today, Mother Teresa has become a saint of the Catholic Church. She was the religious icon of the 20th century, known the world over for helping the disadvantaged while living among them. But it all began here in Dublin, when in 1928, a young Albanian woman called Agnes Boiargiu joined a religious order known as the Loreto Nuns. She famously lived out her calling in the slums of Calcutta, and became known as the Living Saint after founding the sisterhood, the Missionaries of Charity. Touching the lives of tens of thousands, the sisters built homes for orphans and hospices for the dying. Mother Teresa brought the plight of the poor to the world stage, and in 1979 she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
I'm very happy to receive it in the name of the hungry, of the naked, of the homeless, of all those people who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared.
Such was her impact that ever since her death in 1997, people have been debating how soon it would be before Mother Teresa was made a saint. I've got a special respect for her, and I've been one of many supporting the cause of her sainthood. But the processes of that sainthood are not straightforward.
A saint isn't sort of a posthumous knighthood that somehow or other after you're dead you get this little title. Sainthood is something that people notice in the life of someone, and when they die, then there's an attempt to say, how can we ascertain was the sainthood there?
As well as gathering personal testimonies, there also has to be evidence of miracles. Miracles aren't easy to come by, and a Vatican Commission investigated claims of unexplained medical cures brought about by prayers to Mother Teresa before 2 were given papal approval.
Sainthood is a recognition this person is holy, and a believer can turn to them and ask them to intercede for them with God.
But for most people, her saintliness lay in her humility.
She went for a television interview. She wasn't looking at what blouse to put on today or what jacket to put on today. She always appeared the same, in this very unworldly dress.
What do you think she would make of her sainthood?
That she lived her life according to her insights, her principles, and if she found that being a saint could maybe help other people, then she'd be delighted to do that.
Despite her association with India, her religious training began here in Dublin, in the Loreto Abbey. Sister Philomena also began her vocation there, and she met Mother Teresa many times.
I followed the same route as Mother Teresa. I joined Loreto in Rathfarnham, Dublin, and I was assigned to India. And I worked there in our orphanage in Loreto in Tally, and many of Mother Teresa's children were brought to that orphanage to be educated. So I had the privilege of meeting her through those little children. I also met her on occasions when we had religious celebrations.
Did you think she was a saint?
In those days, she was just an ordinary sister, like all of us. But we were always aware of the great work she was doing, and that she was fulfilling the precept of the gospel. As long as you did it to one of these, my least, you did it to me. Not only did she do that herself, but she led others.
Mother Teresa spent many years in Calcutta teaching some of the world's poorest children. The need to educate those on the margins of society is still a problem today, as Claire McCollum has been finding out.
There's been a refugee camp just outside Dunkirk since 2006, but in the last year the number of migrants has grown from around 100 to 2,500, including 200 children. And a group of British teachers have come to the camp on a mission. They're determined to give those children an education in the most difficult circumstances. And I've come to find out how they're doing it.
6. 2 times 6. 12. 3 times 6.
So you were teaching back in the UK. Why did you decide to make the move here?
I think I came here in the middle of winter and there wasn't anything for the children. They were surrounded by mud. They were literally wading through mud that was going up to the top of my Wellingtons, and everything about that day I remember so clearly as just wrong. And we had an opportunity from Christmas to be able to do something about it. So that's what we did. We came and we said, we're teachers, we can teach, we can educate, we can give them a reason to get up in the morning and just try. Yeah, just give them the best of education and just do what we can do.
So tell me, who actually is in the camp here and who comes to the school?
Largely, we have got a lot of Kurdish people here in the camp. When we sit with the children and talk to them about why they're here, how they've got here, they are from northern Iraq, from Iran, from Turkey, from Syria, and they will say, I'm here because of Daesh, and that's their answer. And they'll tell you stories about how their village has been flattened, or how ISIS were in the hills behind the village, and that's why they have left. We will see children for 2 weeks, or sometimes we will see them for 6 months. We've got a few families that have been here a long time, and then suddenly they're just gone. When I'm hearing some of the backstories of the families, it's very, very difficult to keep faith with humanity sometimes.
And how's your own faith being tested, would you say?
I don't think it's been tested. In fact, almost quite the opposite. I've had to just give it to God to sort out and do what I can, but no, actually there's so much that I can't help.
What do you want for the children here?
I want them to be safe, and I want them to have a future. They've started to get used to French life, French culture, and being introduced to actually being in France. We're working with the French authorities at the moment and the local mayor's office to actually have more places available in French schools for them. And from September, having the children all having places available in the local primary and secondary schools, which would be a fantastically successful end to this project here in France.